On today's show, we discuss SEO versus SEM as they relate to the new TLDs. What's more valuable, one of the new dots or a good old-fashioned dash between words? Does anyone care about the new 16 TLDs coming out this week? Why at least one Sherpa thinks the new TLDs are suffocating their own business models, and much more on today's DomainSherpa Discussion. I have 3 sponsor messages before we get into today's show. First, if you have a great domain name and nothing to show when people visit, you're missing out on potential advertising revenue, leads, and partnership opportunities. NicheWebsites.com can build you a site quickly with a price option to suit any need. But as their tagline says, they don't just build websites, they build businesses. NicheWebsites.com. Second, if you're buying or selling a domain name or portfolio and you want an estimate of its value, Estabot.com is the place to go. Just like you'd visit Zillow.com to get an estimate of a house value, Estabot.com provides key information about the most important statistics so you can make an informed decision based on data. Finally, whether you're buying, selling, brokering, or financing a domain name, you need an escrow company that's properly licensed, bonded, insured, and audited. That company is escrow.com, and they've been doing it since 1999. Escrow.com. It's about trust. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Cyger. I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, and this is the DomainSherpa Discussion. When news and events happen in the domain name industry and you want to hear a more in-depth discussion on the topic, you turn into the DomainSherpa Discussion. We're joined by 4 Domain Sherpas this week. From left to right, we have Adam Dicker, CEO of DNForum.com and NicheWebsites.com, the company that will help you build, rank, and update your business website. Michael Berkens, publisher of TheDomains.com, co-founder of the Right of the Dot consultancy, and founder of the domain marketplace MostWantedDomains.com. Paige Howe, founder of the domain marketplace DomainOutlet.com and the service DomainTipsheet.com, where you can find great hand-selected domain names at reg fee pricing. And Rick Schwartz, the domain king and co-founder of the Traffic Domain Industry Conference, taking place in just a few short weeks away in beautiful Miami Beach, Florida. TargetedTraffic.com. Gentlemen, welcome to this week's show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael. Good to see you all. We had a fun discussion right before I hit record. Should we No, we won't revisit that. All right.
It's not going to get me in trouble.
Maybe at Targeted Traffic. Hey, it won't get me in trouble.
Oh, speaking of targeted traffic, since you brought it up, if this really is going to be Rick's last show,
I don't know, Rick. Is it really going to be your last show?
Rick, is it?
Yes.
Then we should have a little segment called the Rick Roast.
Oh, we need to roast Rick at the show.
Sure, it's his going away party.
Rick, do we need to bring that up with Howard and book a slot?
I don't know. I thought that's when I leave the show you do the roast.
Yeah, I think it needs to be its own event.
And traffic will go on. I just won't be active in it any longer.
All right. Well, we definitely need to do a roast. So, I'll talk to Howard.
We can do it on here if you want, Michael.
I know. Maybe we should do a roast on Domain Sherpa. I'll sit down with 100 different people and then paste them all together. That would be a lot of fun.
I really don't think you have that much time.
I don't think you can find that many people that would like me to do that.
Well, they don't have to like you to roast you, Rick.
That's true. In that case, you'd have plenty of fodder.
You got to open up to about 500 people, I think, then, at least.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe you can take kids.
All right, we're going to start this week with discussing online marketing. A few weeks ago, Palm Beach asked a question about the new versus old TLDs and how they related to search engine organic ranking. So how they rank in the search engines. Not in the paid advertising, but in the regular organic listings. So for example, would wine.club rank better than wineclub.com, all other factors of the website considered equal? Adam Dicker said he'd pick a few domain names, run an SEO test himself. Adam, what news do you have to report on this topic?
Well, there is no news. I'm just kidding. So based on all testing that we had that I've done, I would say that the com outranked the GTLD in all areas of the test. I mean, it was, and different things were differently specific. I know that certain businesses were outranking, and I tried to outrank them with the GTLDs, and I just couldn't do it. I tried a few different ways.
All right, so basically,
com is king is the bottom line.
.com is winning is the bottom line.
So far.
And are you using, so are you willing to talk about what the domain names are? People are going to wonder.
No, not yet. Soon, though.
Okay.
Soon.
All right.
I mean, there was another test done this week as well.
Yeah.
That you can talk about where they can see the domains.
I do want to talk about that. But in your test where you took a new TLD and then an old school .com and you put the same content on the websites and then the search engines indexed them, got them into their index, you ran the result on whatever keyword phrase it was, and you're seeing the .com outperforming the new GTLD.
Yeah, the .com outperformed the new GTLD, and I think it's just because the search engines haven't caught up to all the new GTLDs and figured out how to index them all recently. And I found that if you do it with even newer GTLDs, it ranks worse.
Yeah.
So eventually, I think they're all going to catch up.
Yep, I don't doubt it. So did you get either of the websites onto the, or did you get the .com onto the first page, or are they sort of 100 down in the results?
They both ranked fairly well because I picked pretty long tail keywords, but definitely the GTLD ranked worse than the com in all cases.
All right. So, you know, Luke Webster posted a comment on a prior discussion about this topic, and he said that his shaving.club, Luke Webster, of course, prior Sherpa, came to the first D in Seattle, talked about his shave network. He runs a whole line of shaving products and partnered with the .club registry on shaving.club, and it is top 10 for the phrase shaving club. And so that's looking pretty good right there. I'd say it's a pretty good testament to building.
But it really depends. What is shavingclub.com? Is it a developed site or is it a park page?
That's a good question. I don't see it ranked in the top 10. Let me go over
see what it is, because a lot of times that you're not comparing apples to apples.
Well, no,
congratulations for Luke.
And I'm not comparing apples to apples at all right now. I was just saying that in search engine organic rankings, it is possible to have a domain name rank in the top 10, right? That's what we all wonder about. If I buy a new top-level domain for $10 or $100 a year, do I have the same opportunity to rank in the top 10 where 80% of the people doing searches are spending their time? They usually won't go past the first page of results. And Luke is doing pretty well. It looks like shavingclub.com is a pretty thin WordPress-based educational website. So it looks like it's some sort of holding page.
But see, he went to the part and he actually developed a site, whereas most domainers are afraid to develop a site because it has some side effects. Some of the side effects are that you will lose about 13 cents a year in parked revenue. Another one is that you may get insomnia from actually growing a business and caring about it and wanting to see it succeed. And also a real side effect that people have told me before is sometimes they actually develop a good work ethic and time management skills. So this isn't something that domainers typically like. So these are some things you need to consider if you're going to develop a site.
Mike, Paige, and Rick, are you pissed off at what Adam just said about you?
I didn't say them specific. Okay, let's target Rick since he's leaving soon. Rick likes to sit and wait.
Rick, how can you sit there quietly while Adam makes fun of you for only parking your domain names?
I guess we're going to start the roast early.
Rick has the ability to sit and wait for people to come to him, but most domainers are not in his situation, so they should be more aggressive.
All right. I'm just
there you go.
Adam.
Hey, Michael, not for nothing, because it's not, in my field, this SEO stuff, of course. But just playing here, listening to Adam, I typed in, just because it came into mind, the term search engine guru into Google, and the first listing happens to be searchengines.guru. The second result is thesearchguru.com, searchengineland.com, mysearchguru.com. And yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, it's the ranking number one.
It can definitely rank, and the GTLs can definitely. It really depends on the competition that they have on the keywords, obviously.
Yeah, and Search Engine Guru doesn't have any advertising. It's not a highly.
It does have it has advertising. There's ads on the right.
I don't see any.
Here, let me give GTLDs a plug. I don't think it matters, okay? I think it's a non-issue, and again, I say it's all about relevance. And if it's relevant to what you have, and you're it's optimized right, and everything is done right, you're going to rank right. I don't think it has anything at all to do with the extension, really. Maybe in the short term because of the growing nonsense, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think more acceptance is more relevant than that, because if people don't accept it, they say, geez, that may be a fly-by-night, or they don't trust the extension, that's a bigger mountain to climb than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has ever said that Google is factoring in what's right of the dot in a domain name in terms of the rankings. If you have searchengine.guru and you want to optimize for Search Engine Guru, then you still optimize for Search Engine Guru. I don't think you can say, well, they're going to pick up my TLD and that's going to trump whatever I'm doing on my website. So I still don't. You still need to optimize the whole term that you want to optimize for, even if it's in your domain name right at the dot. Because I don't see how their algorithm could take in right at the dot as meaning something without all of a sudden having com become the most popular word ever. You know what I mean? Because it's in so many domain names. Unless you think that they're somehow going to say, if the domain's a com, don't count what's right at the dot. But if it's not a .com, all of a sudden count what's right of the dot in terms of the algorithm. So I don't think that what's right of the dot is going into the algorithm. I think you still optimize for the full word on your site.
It'll be interesting to see. Matt Worth sent me over a link to Bill Hartzer's study that he ran on SEM, search engine marketing tests at his company. For anyone that doesn't know what SEM stands for, search engine marketing generally means purchased advertising. So those are the ads when you do a search at the top of Google, on the right-hand side of Google, and I suspect it's the same thing on Bing and Yahoo. Bill's company compared 3caratdiamonds.com to 3carat.diamonds, and it also compared matatosmenu.com to matatos.menu, which is a chain of Mexican restaurants in Texas. So basically they measured on those ads, they measured impressions and they measured conversions. And they, and to the point, people that are buying advertising should be measuring their conversions. How many people actually did something on the website when they clicked through from an advertisement. And so, for example, they purchased how many people filled in the form to download a white paper and how many people clicked on a button on the 3D carrots. And their results were, drum roll please, inconclusive. Bill said, quote, "We are not totally convinced that one is necessarily better than the other." A little bit disappointing. What they did see was that Google AdWords tends to favor the new GTLDs as they served up more impressions, if that's what you're into, is impressions, brand building on the new TLDs, for less cost and at a better average position than the .coms. From what they used. And at the same time, though, when they compared conversions, the public, the people who clicked through to two exactly identical websites, the public appeared to favor the .com domain names more. So there you have it. It's, generally inconclusive, not a ton of data, but some data that, could go either way. I think what we're sort of converging on here, to your point, Rick and Adam, is that if you actually build a real business on a domain name, regardless of whatever domain name it is, you're likely to get better results. And I think Google is probably going to go with that as well.
But I think if it's a tie, that's a win for the new GTLDs, because it means you're buying something at probably a much reduced cost. Whether or not it's as good brandable, who knows? But at least it's not, oh my gosh, this is Y2K, and a lot of the internet doesn't even see them. Google doesn't even rank them. You can't even use them as the destination of an AdWords campaign. So as long as all those things aren't, one of those things isn't true, then I think you get into the idea that functionally they're just as good as a legacy TLD, which is the win for the new TLDs, I think.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? You're muted, Adam. You are muted, Adam. Adam Dicker. There
Sorry, my mouse is freaky.
No worries.
What I was saying was content is king, and as long as you're willing to put time in and build a good-looking business with quality original content, you'll rank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just give my typical caveat that Google applied for 100 of these new GTLDs. Some they have, some they'll go in auction. Matter of fact, they're in an ICANN auction this week for .buy, I believe, against Amazon and some other big players. So they're going to, if they win, they're going to probably wind up spending several million or more for it, plus all of the other strings they've got and will have, and they're planning on doing something with them. So keep that in mind when you talk about Google and new GTLDs. They got a big presence.
Yeah. And the other point I'd like to make is that, the public has a perception that .com is more trustworthy right now than these new GTLDs that they don't understand. That was proven in the Bill Hartzer study. And I will point you to an interview that I did about a year ago with Sean McGowan, who is the CEO of carloans.com.au over in Australia. They moved from beep.com.au to carloans.com.au. And the result of that was that he found the exact match domain name produced a 66% increase in sales turnover, driving their business from a $60 million company to $100 million in only 5 months. Go search for Sean McGowan, McGowan, if you have any questions about that. It's a pretty clear description of how he increased his business going from a great brandable to an exact match primarily through AdWords. And the fact that people click on the ads more with car loans because that's what they're searching for in Australia. So great result there. Hey, quick question from the audience. I can't remember who wrote this. Which is a better domain name? Shave.club or shave-club.com? What do you guys think?
I'll go with Shave Club.
Shave-club.com?
No, Shave.
Shave.club. So if you owned both Shave.club, Mike Berkens, and Shave-club.com, you'd price Shave.club more expensive than Shave-club.com.
Yes.
Any other thoughts?
I would agree that shave.club is a much better domain name. I don't like dashes, and I'd rather have the GTLD than a dash. And I know Rick's going to disagree, but so what? He's retiring.
Rick, let's go over to you, Rick. What do you think? Do you disagree or agree?
I just have both. and then I'd be hawking for the rest of my life the guy that has shaveclub.com because that's the one I really want.
Right,
of course. The other crap?
Of course, everybody wants shaveclub.com. But if you can't own shaveclub.com and you could buy shave.club and shave-club.com, which would you buy if you were going to start a shave club?
Shaveclub.xyz. Shaveclub.xyz, baby.
All right, Rick refuses to answer. Paige, let's go to you.
I'd price the dash higher now because you still have legacy.com being worth more than the new TLDs. You have to remember shave.club is shave.club. It's a 3-word name. So you can say that your company's called Shave Club. Join Shave Club. See us at shave.club. Or you could say, we're Shave Club. See us at shave-club.com. So, but it's not Shave Club. I mean, you can't say type Shave Club on the internet and you'll get us. It's shave.club. So.
But listen, see, there's where the debate gets very narrow because there's also ricksshaveclub.com or floridashaveclub.com or usashaveclub.com or 10 million variables of shaveclub.com. So there's no reason to just limit it like this. I just don't get that part. You can personalize it, you could geo it, you can adjective it, you can verb it, you can do all kinds of different things and still have shaveclub.com without risking, first of all, not being able to say Shave Club because it's shave.club, and when you're saying shave club 1,000 times, you're not saying shave.club. You're not branding the right thing. It's really a problem. You're branding something that isn't yours. Why would anyone in their right mind do that?
That assumes that everybody is going to expect that .com is the predominant brand, which it is right now, but all the new GTLDs are saying that's not going to be the case in 5 years.
Listen, they've been making up all kinds of horse shit for 2 years already. You got to eat now. You got to make sales now. No one can afford to lose sales now. If it comes about that it becomes the greatest thing, terrific. So you can use shave.club, but to employ it and be the guinea pig and be the birdie in the mine when that's a huge risk. Even for any startup, that's a huge, huge risk, and it's probably a really, really bad decision.
All right, it is a risk. Paige, what were you going to say?
I'll jump in there too, which is that it's if you're taking one of the new TLDs and you're going to brand it shave.club, you can't get a Twitter handle. You're either going to have to be shave dot club or shave -club, which everyone's supposed to know means dot. You can't, whether you can trademark it or not, up in the air, but there's still that idea that as a functional URL that's easy to get to, it's great. You know what I mean? Page's Shave Club at shave.club. I do add a little prestige by having this short, memorable name. But whether you can actually make it the full name of your company, shave.club, I don't know if we're there yet. It's got to be really good, I think, to be able to change it and make it the whole name of your company and not just a quick and easy to remember URL to get to the destination for your company.
Mike Berkens, you took out your headset. I thought you were getting pissed off at what Rick was saying.
Yeah, not yet. I just was playing. I was on Google again, so Google Shave Club, as everybody was chatting, and it's interesting that $1shaveclub.com is in the top spot as the advertiser, and they also have the first 4 spots organically, and they also have a little box on the right that shows me they have 576,000 followers on Google+. So, I think there's a lot of things that go into, and I'm not an SEO guy, but I think there's a lot of other factors that factor into where you rank. Domains are important, but there's other factors too. It's interesting that Google has the fact that this is highlighting this company on the right-hand side based on the number of Google followers, Google Plus followers. Maybe because they are a top advertiser. Maybe they get a little bit boost to the organic. I don't know. That was more an Adam question. But it sort of is interesting to see the 4 top results all to the same company, I think. Does anybody else see that?
I see the top 2 organic results as Dollar Shave Club. And then I see Wet Shave Club, an article from Lifehacker, an About.com article, and then I see Shaving.club. But yeah, it is a good point that, they are trying to take over the whole website, the whole Google page. When you type in Shaving Club, they got the top ad, they've got the number 1 and 2 organic listings, and I often see in lead gen spaces that I serve, companies will do that by buying multiple domain names and trying to get the top 3 ad spots or 2 ad spots of theirs using different URLs and just push everybody else down. So it is a tactic to try and push everybody else off the first page.
And then you're seeing the box of the Google Plus also on the right-hand side?
I've got my screen minimized, so it's not showing that right now.
How about that, Adam? Is that important, a factor in SEO? Having a Google Plus account and having a lot of followers?
It definitely helps. I mean, even now they're saying that even if you have HTTPS, it helps your rank.
Oh, Adam just froze up for a second. He was going to say that a secure socket layer connection on your website does help your rankings because it costs an extra $50 per year, I'm sure Adam was going to say, and that indicates that you are more of a serious business person than somebody that's just using a regular HTTP connection. I thought
Adam was going to say, just listen to Berkens. I thought that's what he was about.
He's about to say, and I agree with everything Mike said. Look, I can see his mouth moving. All right, we need Adam to drop off and come back. Yeah, so there you go. Dollar Shave Club.
No, sure.
I mean shaving.club. And I also asked Luke Webster separately. I got on the phone with him and I said, hey, Shaving.club is good, but Shave Club is better. It actually gets more searches per month. It has more advertisers, and I think it could actually deliver more customers to you. And he's like, yes, I agree. And I'm like, what's the deal? Is .club holding out on you? He said, no, it's one of the domains that's on the ICANN. What's the list called, Mike? It's on the
Collision list?
Collision list, and it hasn't been released yet. And when it is released, that he's hoping to work with .club on acquiring Shave.club. All right, Adam is still gone, so I'm gonna ping him right now. Let's start the next topic, and while we're doing that, I am going to try and get Adam back. So next up, there are 16 new TLDs launching this week. 16, including vodka, cooking, fishing, horse, country, rodeo, Vegas, organic, website, press, host, loans, life, guide, church, and Republican. Geez Louise. Paige Howe, Mike Berkens, you sent me emails just before saying .website, .host, and .press are delayed until today, Thursday, the day when this show comes out, due to technical difficulties at the registrar level. I don't know. I follow all this stuff. 6 of the domains suck. Another 2 suck less. Organic has 21 because they have such high threshold to get over. I don't know. You guys invest in domain names, right? Between all of you guys, Adam included, you've got over 100,000 domain names easily, probably closer to 200,000. You are domain name investors. Do any of you care about these top-level domains launching this week? Quick break from 3 sponsors of today's show. First, are you tired of being upsold and cross-sold when you buy or renew a domain? Then try the newest registrar being built from the ground up with a beautiful interface, competitive pricing, and 24/7 support. Uniregistry.com will surprise and delight you. The right domain can change your life. Uniregistry.com. Second, investing in Chinese domains is crazy hard without expert native language advice. Now, as a service to the Western domainer community, TLD Registry offers ChineseLandRush.com. Using ChineseLandRush.com will help you invest in Chinese domains with confidence and without knowing a word of Chinese. Finally, MediaOptions is a boutique domain brokerage firm that gets results. They've specialized in helping companies acquire and sell high-value domain names since 2005, with a client list ranging from funded startups to Fortune 500 corporations. Visit MediaOptions.com to learn more. Between all of you guys, Adam included, you've got over 100,000 domain names easily, probably closer to 200,000. You are domain name investors. Do any of you care about these top-level domains launching this week? Let's start there. Let's put the bar this right here. What do we care about?
Well, I mean, Vegas is certainly a good extension. I mean, it's a huge tourist market, obviously, and so I mean, it's something not to certainly put in the same category as rodeo. I mean, I think it's it's an interest. It has value to it, and personally, I like Vegas in general.
All right,
Vegas
Vegas you like.
I like .guide, which also launched this week. I think that's pretty good extension. Again, you always have the considerations of the premium names and what they're going to be priced at on an annual basis, and finding those names that are sort of just not either a premium priced or a priced at a reasonable level. And of course, there's still all the whole collision issue, but I like .guide and I like .vegas. What were the other 44 that you mentioned?
If you can't remember, I don't care to remind you again. Paige, do you like anything including .vegas and .guide?
Yeah, I like .vegas. It's a little pricey in that it's a great market. There's no doubt it's a great tourist town. But I think it's $50 or $60 just for a regular name, unless everything I was looking up was premium. So I've had to be really selective. They've got 7,000 names on the premium program list. So it's not like they've left a lot of stuff, out there available. So I haven't got any .vegas yet. I got a .website in the pre-registration, and I don't know if because the general availability is being delayed, that millisecond after general availability where they allocate the pre-registrations, whether I'm still going to get it or not. So I'm pretty much ticked off about the whole, here you go, we're giving out tickets to the concert, here's the rules, everyone stand in line, you got your tickets. Oh, no, wait. Everyone give your tickets back. We got to do it over again. Because for most of us, that means what decisions are you making when you do it over again? Are you favoring, was it a mistake when you made a mistake the first time? Or was it a mistake when you made a mistake the second time? Who are you favoring? And with, people want to say, well, what do you think? We're not going to be fair? Well, listen, it was either fair then or the new one's fair, but they're not going to be exactly the same. So I don't know if I got fantasyfootball.website. I put in a pre-order. I got an email saying you got fantasyfootball.website. Now we'll see if they say no, and all kinds of other junk. And, that'll get me back to I've got a take on new TLDs I'll deliver at some point in time. But
all right, so basically you're saying the whole process is screwed up, it's undefined, and they can't even stick to the things that they say they're going to do. But if you get fantasyfootball.website, you're going to be happy.
That makes domainers want to invest in it more because that means more people are going to leave. And every time someone leaves, I get closer to the front of the line. And that's a domain investor's mentality.
That is a good point.
But here's the best thing you said. You said to Mike Berkens, you're a domain name investor. And you said to me, you guys, and that's what I believe I am. I don't believe that if you've not bought domains up until now, you should become a new TLD investor only and just buy them because that's your chance to win a bunch of money. And at the same point, if you're a domain investor now, you can be a domain name investor that chooses to buy new TLDs or doesn't choose to buy new TLDs, but look at it in the whole scheme of things that I'm a domain name investor, and we'll see if these things have risen to the level that's compelling. Baltic.cruises at 25 grand is darn compelling, folks. Okay, there's not that many places where you can create wealth from, even if they paid 600 or something on day 5 of Land Rush, to go from 600 to 25,000. So it's compelling, but then you have to discount it for a lot of things, including the systems keep messing up.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is.
All right, I want to come back to Baltic.cruises, but to focus on your point here, Paige, you're a domain name investor. You are looking for opportunities. You are looking for ways where the process breaks down, where you can get in there and figure things out, right? Isn't that how all three of you guys made money back in the late 90s? Is that the process wasn't well-defined. There was no well-defined way to register a .com. You were never quite sure if you got it. There's these points in our lives where there are discontinuities, where there is disruption, and those times are opportunities. Could you not look at this as one of those times where there are opportunities for those that are willing to tough it out? Unlike myself, like the whole thing is just frustrating. I'm like, I'm done.
Yes and no, but in my opinion, the biggest thing that happened in domain names as an asset class, the one-worders are always going to be worth money. But when monetizing through pay-per-click came in 03, 04, 05, and all of a sudden, almost every domain name had value being used to make money, then you didn't have to wonder if that domain name had value.
Right.
Because people were making money every month from the traffic that came to those domain names. And remember, 01 and 02, they were all coming back. And all of a sudden, they were all worth money again because they were being used to make money. So, and since then, we've seen websites use domain names to make money. The new TLDs, there's always the chance that you could sell them to someone else that's speculating more than you are, but will we see them used to make money? And that's when you'll see the take-up get bigger.
Rick Schwartz, Mike Berkens, I know you used to catch names on the drop, those great singleword.coms that you guys own in your portfolio back in the late 90s. That was one of these discontinuities where nobody understood exactly when the domains were dropping, how they dropped, what time. Can you look at this process today, this ambiguous process where domains, are priced haphazardly and get delayed for their launch, and you're not sure if you have fantasyfootball.website, and look at it as a comparable time in our lives?
It's different. There's so many different. Everyone. It's just different ingredients, different time. The traffic with the domain names were the basis that gave it value to begin with, which probably isn't going to be present on the new GTLDs. I mean, there's so many things. And like I am a domain name investor. Okay. And again, if I go to a horse race, and I don't have to bet on the horse race before the gate opens, the horses go, and I have the luxury to sit and wait for them to go around the track to see who's still alive at the third post. I mean, that's in my benefit as a domain investor. I have limited funds. I can't piss away flowers.mobi money again. I learned my lesson, okay? How many people out there can afford to lose 200 grand like I did? I learned the hard way. So it's just a whole lot smarter to wait for, 1,400 extensions. You got to ask the question, A, how many are going to be meaningful? That's a legitimate question to ask. How many are going to be meaningful? And then the next question to ask, of the meaningful ones, who are going to be in the top 10? And I don't think there's anyone that can judge at this moment what that's going to look like in a few years. And that's why when they're rounding the turn in about 3 years, that's a really good time for an investor to take a look at. And you got to remember, there's going to be a glut in the market. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to be selling every GTLD. My mailbox now is getting spammed every day by these turkeys. I mean, it's going to be exponentially worse, 100,000 times worse than we've ever seen in our lives. And half the people here are going to end up changing their email addresses just because of all the spams that are coming. And we'll just see how it plays out. It's like there's no gun in anyone's head to make a decision now. The likelihood is that the prices are going to be cheaper in 3 years than they are now.
Yeah.
If history is an indicator.
Yep. So what TLDs are meaningful? I agree with you, Mike Berkens, that .vegas is meaningful. I like a certain number of these geos like .nyc and .london and .vegas. You know, the biggest websites. It's not going to have any. If a .seattle came out, which I love, which I live in, I don't think it'll have the impact that the bigger cities will. And I like .guide, but listening to you, Rick, I would say, if I could get tour.guide or financial.guide or SEO.guide, I would totally do it. But when I, just like every other investor out there, go and look them all up, nothing's available. Good luck. It's on the restricted list, or it's already been sold, or it's held, or...
Well, that's a whole different story.
Well,
see, that's a whole different story because these guys are suffocating their businesses by not allowing these domains to flourish. Well, listen, Network Solutions didn't sit there and say, "Oh, we're not going to let this .com go, and we're not going to let that .com go because it's worth money." They sat there, and the only ones they wouldn't let go were the ones that they deemed inappropriate or whatever. But it was wide open. These guys are doing it exactly the opposite, and they expect the same result. It's insane. They're smothering their own business, and they may never have another shot because when they're competing against 1,399 other guys, they're going to be getting kicked in the teeth all day long, every day, from every corner, and this is their moment. This is their one moment to do what they need to do. And you know what? It's like .travel. Imagine if .travel sat there a few years ago and they saved all their premium domain names. Now they're going to let them go. Guess what? Who gives a shit? Okay? You're going to wake up at 5 in the morning to get your premium .travel domain or your premium .mobi, who to this day have held back all these domain names that they should have let go when morons like me were bidding 200 grand a domain name. This is insane. We've seen this movie.
I mean, to be fair, a couple of things, Mike. First of all, a page, good news. It took me 8 minutes to find the who is, but you are the registrant of fantasyfootball.website.
Thank you.
Woo! Page Howe!
I don't know. Maybe
we'll see. As of right now.
I'll take a screenshot for you, okay? Number two, so when Rick's point is There's how many morons pay $200,000 for .mobi? There's only one. So that was cut the most early on that one. So it's not like a plethora of people that did that. Now, to your point, Michael.
Against a lot of people.
So, to your point, Michael, on .guide, let's just use a couple of examples. So, some of the names you mentioned, like Tour Guide, was not available and was reserved. But SEO Guide was available, but it was taken, it's a Donuts extension, it was taken in EAP, and it had a premium price. So, it's not easy, it's much more complicated than it used to be. Don't assume every name is reserved, because it's not. On the other hand, if it's a really good domain, let's say SEO Guide, maybe we all would agree is a good name, and we'd all spend $30 to register it if we could. It's unlikely that name will be available come GA. Somebody's probably going to step up in EAP, pay the extra money for the early access. Somebody, and the name may be priced, at $200, $300, $400, $500, $800 a year, and then that's another decision to make. Is it worth that money? So there's a lot of factors, but not every good name is reserved. A lot of great names are available.
Actually, SEO Guide wasn't even one that I looked up. I followed the process that I did where I went to Google AdWords. I posted a tutorial on DomainSherpa. I went to Google AdWords, typed in guide, filtered it by only search phrases that have guide in it, put it into a spreadsheet, sorted it by only the ones that have guide in the second spot so I can replace a space with a period, and then looked up all those domains on GoDaddy. Almost half of them were registry reserved, and the other half were already taken prior to general availability. Actually, prior to the last day before general availability, because I'd consider paying $150 for one of those .guides, maybe. But anyways, the fact is
the other thing too is all the names that are held back is competition to your name. So if I buy, say there was two names that are exactly the same. Say it was boy.club and girl.club. You decided they were the same. Whatever. Just say you decided. And I bought one for $500 premium fee, and the registry held one back. There's nothing that stops them from, if they need money in 5 years, saying we're going to sell it for $100 a year. So, they have all this inventory that they can always come out like .info did with it's free, and that really hurts our secondary market values. Back to Rick's point about how the domains are coming out, I still point to ICANN and say they didn't change the internet. Okay, if they said that all these things are taken, we're going to make them available by our process, they've just created a new series of players where the best names are taken and you have to pay an extra fee to get them, and the stuff that's available is usually second tier. So to that extent, this whole process and the $400 million hasn't, in my opinion, changed the internet experience, for the general person that's out there buying a name.
Oh, all right, last topic related to TLDs. Baltic.cruises. It came out public that it sold for $25,000 on CEDO, I think it was. This is one of the only, or one of a handful of sales that people can point to in the new GTLDs and say, hey, there's a good flip. There's a significant 5-figure profit on what, let's assume, was a $600 order of magnitude buy. Is that the start of something with these new TLDs, or is that just an outlier that, the registrant of Baltic.cruises got a lottery ticket? What do you guys think?
Well,
let's start with you, Mike, and then we'll come to you, Rick.
Okay. I was just going to start with a very quick caveat again that GoDaddy and Afternic is in this quiet IPO period. So they haven't released sales for several months now. Mm-hmm. There may be sales, there may not be sales of new GTLDs or anything. They haven't released any sales. So half of the aftermarket is basically been cut off as far as reporting goes over the last few months. And of course, the GTLDs are only a few months old, right. 6 months old. So I'll just give that caveat and let Rick take it.
All right.
And I'll just say,
Rick.
Listen, I'll probably surprise some people. Here's what I would say. If I'm a guy and I'm sitting there and my whole life all I do is live and breathe Baltic cruises and that's how I make my living, then it's not a bad risk to try it. And that's what it is. But for a domainer, as an investor, to go for 25 grand, now you're on the verge of insanity. Okay, now you're certifiable. I think now you're certifiable. If I have a business and I'm selling Baltic cruises, okay, it's a play. It may work. It may not work. I don't know, but it's a reasonable thing for a businessman to do if he has 25 grand sitting there that he's going to use in advertising or something.
So I agree. If I was running a profitable business and I could buy Baltic.cruises and maybe I own BalticCruises.com, yeah, I could see it. But you're saying it's crazy, and for domain investors to think that they can reproduce this kind of sale using Seattle.cruises or Alaska.cruises or, Cayman Island.cruises or whatever, you're saying it's not going to happen. Likely.
I'm saying to risk.
Might on Alaska.
I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it isn't worth risking 25 grand waiting for the $250,000 customer that probably won't show up.
Right.
Right, but is it worth $200 to buy an equivalent name and see if you can get lucky in the same way?
I don't know.
So the way I look at it is, if I put my money in the bank, I have a 100% chance of making 1% on my money. I'm going to get 1%, and I got a 100% chance. If I buy Mediterranean.cruises at $600, do I have a 1% chance of making 100 times on my money? Okay, risk a little bit, make a lot. So I have to look and say, can I buy domains? Where is the point in the new TLDs where I think I'm getting to the point that the quality of what I'm buying is good enough to give me that chance? And I don't think it's just typing in the first thing you think of with the new TLD and going, that could do it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's typing in the best one and having to pay a big annual fee. So I went to Seabourn Cruises website. I took the 26 types of cruises that they had, ran them all with .cruises, saw what I liked, ran them all in .com, and ended up getting extendedcruises.com. So an extended cruise is anything more than 10 days. You want to take it for a month or a year, whatever. So in that case, I didn't even have to choose whether I wanted extended .cruises, which was a $100 premium, because the com was available. So in that case, buy the com, work done. But I think you have to be ready to do the work to search for new TLDs, but don't be afraid to come away with nothing if you don't see the quality that's there to give you a chance to make the money.
So I can go on domaintipsheet.com and buy extendedcruises.com for $10 plus your $10 honor fee?
No, I bought that name for myself.
All right. Mike, were you going to say something about Baltic.cruises too?
I mean, I think Alaska. I mean, it goes. Some of this just goes back again to knowing what a really good domain is and what it isn't. So you mentioned several off the top of your head. So Alaska cruises, yeah, I think you could sell that. I mean, that seems like a name that could sell.
Yeah.
In that price range, Mediterranean cruises could sell. Seattle cruises will not sell. Miami cruises won't sell. Fort Lauderdale cruises won't sell. So there's things that could, and there's things that won't. So at least something that could. I mean, at least give yourself the chance of it.
All right.
Don't buy something that West Palm Beach cruises is not selling for any significant amount of money. So that's what I would say. There's lots of choices. There's plenty of extensions every week. And find those sweet spots of fees that you can afford, registration, renewal fees. If all you can afford is a normal registration, then don't worry, man. Pass on the premiums.
All right, let's continue the discussion in a different area related to making money as an investor. Paul over at Maven Domains pointed out that a Flippa auction, Flippa.com, closed a couple of days ago. It had 333 domain names, and it sold for $8,880. If you do the math, it's like, I don't know, $1 billion a domain. Just joking. I think it's like $26 a domain. The portfolio included cashapplications.com, consumerguidelines.com, fastestcredit.com, followtweet.com, guaranteerates.com, trackdeliveries.com, visitportal.com. It highlighted those in the description. I think those were some of the best ones. The seller named flipping.info said that the portfolio, quote, Our domains are subjected to highly rigorous, all in caps, manual selection process to make sure that they are extremely tradable. Would you guys recommend to new investors that they spend $8,000 on a portfolio like this? If not, why not? What do you guys think?
Well, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, new investors need to realize that they're getting 333 domains for $8,000, but they're also getting a $2,500 a year bill for renewing those domains. So, not to say it's a bad investment, because I didn't see the portfolio, but I'm assuming out of that portfolio there's probably maybe 20, 30, 40 names that are probably worth, renewing, and maybe many that aren't. So if you do buy that, you got to keep that in mind, and you may wind up dropping. Don't be, especially bought it, and it came with, it's not like free.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be a holding cost, and if you use a 5-year, hold, and you start talking about, that $8,000 portfolio is going to cost you, well over that to hold it for 5 years.
So be smart about it. You got to do your own analysis and figure out which ones you want to keep, which ones have values for resale, and which ones you want to drop. Adam Dicker?
Yeah, this is a good time to mention that generally people need to ask an expert, no matter who it is, before you purchase something like that. In any business I've ever gotten into, including this one, I always went up to somebody who I thought was a reasonable expert, and I said, Rick Schwartz, can you give me an hour of your time? What would you charge me? He'll say $100. I'll say, okay, I'll pay you $200, and that would save me a ton of money in the long run and the short run. I mean, I've had people come to me that spent $100,000 on domains, $400,000 on domains, $800,000 on domains, and I've had to tell them, look, with the $800,000 you spend, it's not worth $5,000 combined. It's a hard thing to say, but people need to understand they have to ask those questions before you take money out of your pocket and throw it away. Educate yourself. We're not joking when we're on here. We're here to help people educate themselves, but also you cannot beat one-on-one with Michael Berkens to get some education on what I could buy or what could get me in this industry. You need to reach out to those people that are out there. It doesn't have to be a high-end shirt. Just but don't go to one of those people that just because you think they're an expert, just because they have one more bit of knowledge than you do. Go to somebody who's a proven expert in the industry and get their time. And if they're an expert, they're not going to try to sell you anything except information. So take that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think you have to assume that this person's a domain investor, that there's been some negative selection, and that a lot of the easy flips or the ones with easy targets are probably there. Mm-hmm. So it's probably not a flipper portfolio. So then you have to say, who is it for? If you knew that the person selling didn't want that renewal bill and you could handle it and you could afford to wait for the retail offers, I think that would be great. But I would want to put valuations on the name that got the total sales price of all names up in the $100,000 to $200,000 range in terms of where it would have to be for you to say, okay, I'll spend $2,500 a year on average, because even if you get a $2,000 sale twice a year, you're still almost breaking even. You're not going to be able to go to Hawaii and say, hey, that was on that portfolio I bought. So not only do you have to pay back your 8, but the 2. So I just think that the amount of implicit gain should be real high on a bulk portfolio.
Well, and keep in mind, if it is a good portfolio and it's a really great portfolio with all those names, the person's not going to be selling it, especially in bulk.
Yeah. And they quoted something like, I don't have it up in front of me, but they quoted something like a $350,000 Estabot value.
Yeah.
I love Estabot. I use Estabot almost every day, but I would never pay retail Estabot value for any domain names.
The only time somebody ever sells in bulk is if they're dumping.
Yeah.
I'd pay Estabot value as long as I can pick which name I show you the Estabot value that I want to pay for. I'm not going to let the seller pick. But there's a bunch of names with Estabot values of $10 that I'd love to buy for $10.
Very good point. And I got an email from a reader saying, what about this domain, singleword.co? It has a $80,000 Estabot value. And what about this name.me? It has a $40,000 Estabot value. I didn't see any value on either of them. I couldn't explain it to him, so I emailed Luc Lazon. I said, hey, Luc, what about these? And he looked at it and he's like, yeah, that was bad data. We've readjusted those.
Well, some people think because the CO has one less letter than the com, it should be worth 2/3 the value of the com, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a name on the DN tip sheet last week. I think it was Davenport Home. So I guess it's Davenport, Iowa, or whatever. An estimate of $21,000. You know, and there's nothing in the stats. It wasn't like it had a CPC of $97 or whatever. It's just you don't know where. But if someone was saying we'll pay half estimate for any names, and I own that name, you bet I'm sending that name to them and saying, here's the estimate. Let's do business.
All right. Last topic. Is Moniker keeping great dropping domain names to profit from a closed auction? Mike Berkens wrote a post entitled In Auction at Snap, gynecologist.com and obstetrician.com. In it, basically, you're basically saying, Mike, is Moniker now pulling a two cows where domains that are dropping in the registry, at the registrar or one of the registrar partners, they're not allowing them to drop in the normal process. They're keeping the best, most highly valuable domain names and then closing the auction or private selling them themselves. Is that the case in point, Mike, that you were making?
Well, I mean, the fact I think that you're missing in that is that the actual ownership of the name seems to transfer over to Key Systems, which owns Moniker, to their company. So, like on NameJet, there's names. A name that's registered Network Solutions won't actually drop. It'll be at NameJet. If somebody puts a back order on a name, it's going to a NameJet auction. But the ownership doesn't change to the right side. So that was the issue for me.
Yeah.
Actually, the actual ownership change.
And you did some interesting forensic analysis on that to figure out what was going on. Rob Sequin posted a comment on that article saying, I can confirm that Enom will sometimes keep domains from dropping to park them with that or sell them to a private company without sending them to auction at NameJet, which is their auction partner. So it came out. It's public knowledge now. Isn't that what GoDaddy does every single day on their dropping domain names that are registered at GoDaddy? Don't they auction it off before it's even expired fully from their process?
Right, but we're talking about just straight pulling it and keeping it.
We are talking at Moniker pulling it and keeping it.
We're talking about changing the ownership of the to the registrar.
Right. Yeah. So for years, you could look up names at register.com, and they were owned by the unpaid names department at register.com. So they just said, "Oh, this person didn't pay the renewal. We took back the name." Or there was some other entity that was like around the corner, because we actually did we couldn't figure out who owned these names. We found out it was really register.com, but they had to create this side entity to do it in.
Right.
So I don't know if we as domain investors can say that we love the fact that we can profit from when other people drop their names. We should be able to buy them at NameJet for $69, but we just don't want anyone else in the food chain to be able to jump in and do what they can do. So it's a tough deal. I mean, I don't know if I can use logic to say they can't do it.
I mean, it goes back to ICANN that never prohibited. I mean, they never had a rule that said that registrars had to do a certain thing with expired domains and and certainly nothing. And they never had a prohibition against registrars taking ownership of names. So, we could consider ourselves sort of lucky over the years that Network Solutions, none of us are tremendous fans, could have done that. We could have none of our names right now. Mm-hmm. Network Solutions could have all of them.
Yeah.
But it goes back to ICANN.
Fair enough point. All right, gentlemen, that is today's show. Is there anything you want to promote, anything upcoming, any domains that you want to sell, any conferences that you have coming up? Let's start with you, Rick Schwartz.
I do have something. I'm just trying to find it. I probably won't be able to do it till next week, but I have a special for anyone that's on the lines, whether they're going to come to traffic or not, and I'm going to let them see a special video that was taken at traffic of one of our keynote speakers, and I think it'll give anyone that's on the fence a really, really good reason why they should be at traffic and the type of thing that they miss. Because when I say something is priceless, I don't mess around. So I'll have something next week.
Awesome.
Howard Lefkowitz, that's the hint.
All right, Paige Howe, anything you want to promote?
DomainTipSheet.com. It's not all expired names. A lot of times what we're saying is if you're only buying drops, it's kind of like saying I only want to buy what's available to sell. And what we're doing is we're saying what else is out there. So we ran a list yesterday, by the time this comes out, of 30 Scotland names. So you've got Scotland voting for independence. And you can say that it's a perfect market and every great Scotland name is taken. But the only way to find out if they're not is we go to work and we match up Scotland with a bunch of stuff and then show you a list of names that we think, if it were on the list of countries, whether or not it becomes a country or not, probably should be taken or might be good website. So that's the type of thing we do at DomainTipSheet.com.
All right. Mike Berkens, anything you want to promote?
I have, over at Right at the Dot, we have a couple of two-letter.coms. I can't, say them, I can't announce them, but if people do have interest in two-letter.coms and, making significant offers, they can drop me an email.
Why wouldn't you be able to announce what the two letters are?
It just is what it is.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they passed A, are they past L in the alphabet?
Hot or cold?
One actually not.
All right, two-letter.coms. You've got access to them. You know how to hook people up. Contact you at mike@rightofthe.com.
Very good.
All right, Adam Dicker, anything you want to promote?
Just that I think there's a few more days to put your voting in for targeted traffic. So if you appreciate the Sherpas, vote for Mike Cyger, Mike Berkens, and myself. We'd appreciate your votes.
Thank you. And I especially would like to point out that you wore a jacket just to get more votes. You're looking sharp.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing any politics here. I got enough going on here with Rob Ford now that he's resigned and his brother's taking over.
Are
now.
you running for
Doug
office
Ford,
now?
so.
Is that why you're wearing the coat?
I am not. I have enough on my plate that I certainly would want to get into politics.
All right.
I like to help people rather than torture people.
And I have to disclose, I got my cup, my mug, my Domain Sherpa mug came in one piece, the replacement mug, in time for. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. So I have it, and I'm gonna hold it and see if you win the award, so I can throw it against the wall.
You would not.
Again. Throw it against the wall again.
I know, exactly, right? All right, I'm going to promote Monday's Domain Sherpa show. We're going to be airing a show with the founder and CEO of brandbucket.com. If you haven't heard of brandbucket.com, they are the largest marketplace of brandable domain names, so the opposite of keyword domain names. And it's an interesting show. Just taped it. Lots of growth over there. She has access to a lot of startups, and so if you're interested in buying as an entrepreneur or selling as a domain name investor, we go over a lot of criteria. Post any questions that you'd like answered next week in the comments below on this page. Adam Dicker, Michael Berkens, Paige Howe, and Rick Schwartz. Thanks for coming on the Domain Sherpa discussion again, sharing your insights and expertise, and thanks for leading others to reach their peak. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next week.